Good morning, everyone, and welcome. It's FPC Radio Live. It's Friday, November the 11th, 2022. It's Veterans Day, technically, but we want to wish or thank all the veterans out there for their service. Of course, I'm actually kind of surprised. It's already November 11th, John. It kind of honestly the realization that we're already a third through November just struck me as I was saying that. It just kind of dawned on me, but. First week in November or second week in November, technically, which means we're about week 10 in the NFL, and that's where we're at. We're crossing that midway point, and I don't know. Last night was a football game, to say the least. I feel bad. I mean, there's times I feel bad for Al Michaels, John, but then I remember that he's making quite a bit of money to do this broadcast once a week, so I don't feel that bad, but. Man, does he have to suffer through some very, very dull football.
Yeah, he's making $1 million a game, so I think he can live with that. He's 78 years old. He's still at the top of his game. He doesn't have to do this, but, I think he's still great at it. But, he's making $1 million a game. The games haven't really been that exciting since early in the season when we saw the Kansas City Chargers game was probably the best of all the Thursday night games. And
that's like, what, week 2?
Yeah, very early in the season. I'm like, okay, Thursday night thing might be okay. And look, they did fool us, but there's an issue with Thursday night football because these teams play on Sunday and then they're back 3 days later playing. There's travel involved for one team. My solution is go to 18 games. That's going to happen eventually, but go to 20 weeks. Give every team 2 bye weeks, and one of the bye weeks would be the week before their Thursday appearance, so that you get 2 fresh teams on a Thursday night, and the product would be better. Yeah. Eventually, that's probably going to happen.
Well, I don't disagree with that, but my solution is to eliminate Thursday night games altogether. Make it a doubleheader on Monday night. It doesn't have to be both for ESPN. You can do, I don't know how the logistics of that would work with naming and timing and all that stuff, but I think a double header Monday night is just a much better idea, and certainly something that I think the players would probably prefer because, well, you're never really that off from your normal schedule. It's not extra days. It's one extra day lost, and that's really not a big deal. It's when you get into, like you said, you have a game on Sunday, you wake up on Monday feeling the ill effects, and you're like, oh, wait, I got a game in 2 days or 3 days. I got to get ready for it. So, but yeah, I mean, it's last night had some intrigue because of just the state of the NFC South. However, I think, again, neither of those two teams, the Panthers and the Falcons, have, really any legitimate shot. Maybe, you could have convinced me about 3 or 4 weeks ago that maybe New Orleans, could make some noise with the Buccaneers struggling. But I don't know. Is Michael Thomas ever going to be healthy again?
No, he's out for the rest of the year. Yeah, it seems like that injury, the ankle injury, I won't go as far as to say it ended his career, but it certainly derailed it at this point. And then you look for 2023, and he was such a sensational receiver, and losing a player like that has had that effect on that team.
Well, and then you have, of course, who knows what's going to happen with Alvin Kamara with his. I don't, when his legal situation plays out, obviously the league will then put down their punishment or whatever. I don't know what's going to happen there. I have no idea where they're going at quarterback, either this season or next. I mean, I'd assume Andy Dalton's still going to be the guy, but I don't think either Andy Dalton or Jameis Winston is the solution in New Orleans. I mean, I like Dennis Allen, but this could be also example, John, of like Todd Bowles. He was far better suited as the defensive coordinator because, I think their defense was clearly a strength of theirs the last couple of seasons, and one of the reasons why they were even competitive to begin with. And it's kind of felt like it's taken a little bit of a step back. And I think part of that is, well, you have Dennis Allen now as the head coach and not solely the defensive coordinator. And I think you're just naturally going to miss some details with that. Same thing is happening in Tampa, in my opinion, with Todd Bowles, who I thought was a really good defensive coordinator. Again, the last play call against the Rams last season notwithstanding, but same idea. He got to focus on the defense. Now he's got more on his plate where, he's spreading himself a little too thin, in my opinion. So I say all that to say this. Last night had some intrigue, but the reality of it is I don't think there's really much intrigue at all. Like, even if even if the Bucks lose this Sunday, they're still a pretty heavy favorite to win that division because, in my opinion, I do think. I hope maybe this is more of a hope, John. I don't know if it's me thinking or just just a wish and a prayer here, but I do hope that what we saw from Tom Brady in that offense to win the game against the Rams was kind of a eye-opening moment for them in terms of we need to change our philosophy and we need to focus on what works on offense because they have a viable defense. It struggles at times. I mean, again, I think we've talked about this, John. There's a lot of just mediocre defenses in this league. So, they're right on par with just about everyone else in the league. So it's not that much of a disadvantage. But they have a good enough defense to win games in this league. They just need to be more consistent on offense. And I think the times in which they look like the Buccaneers of old are the times in which they're running the offense through Brady's arm. So, I think they're going to build off of that, or at least I hope, John. So please tell me I'm either right or I'm just kind of my blind allegiance to Tom Brady is getting in the way of it.
Well, both things can be true because you can be allegiant to having an allegiance to Tom Brady and for good cause. I still worry about that offensive line, especially the middle of it, where you get backups and young players and cast-offs and whatnot. So I think that's been as big an issue as anything else. But yeah, the division is so weak that they should win it even at 8-9, 9-8, and then they host a playoff game against whether it's Dallas or the Giants or Seattle or whoever. And they're playing Seattle this week in Germany. That's going to be a very difficult game. Seattle's playing excellent football at the moment. And you mentioned the quarterbacking in the NFC South. Like, this is Brady's last year in the NFC South. I don't think he's going to New Orleans, Atlanta, or Carolina. And I certainly don't think he's going to be playing in Tampa next year. He'll be playing elsewhere if he is playing. That division has no backing, right? You got Marcus Mariota in Atlanta. Who the hell is the quarterback in Carolina? They changed that like from quarter to quarter. And then New Orleans, we talked about Jameis Winston and Andy Dalton. So that's a division with no quarterbacks once Brady leaves. At least every other division has, someone that you can look at and go, oh, they're set at quarterback. I mean, look at the AFC North. You got Burrow and Lamar Jackson. And Deshaun Watson coming back. That division's loaded at quarterback, let alone the West with Mahomes and Herbert, et cetera. So, yeah, it's a division with no quarterbacks once Brady leaves. And again, the one thing I feel comfortable in saying is he's not playing in that division next year. He might be in San Francisco or Las Vegas or somewhere else, but it's not going to be in the NFC South.
Yeah, and no, I agree with that. I think regardless of what I think I think the more and more this goes on, the more I'm convinced he's going to end up playing next year. The obstacles and that's not fair. I mean, I don't mean obstacles as in struggles, but the things that would be preventing him from coming back would obviously be health, and he seems and his what's now his former marriage, and that's obviously not a obstacle at the moment. So I mean, I don't see why not. I don't see why he wouldn't come back. He still obviously likes to play, and I think again, going back to that moment, and like I said, maybe I am putting way too much into it and hoping that okay, this is it. This is what finally kicks that Buccaneers and Brady offense into high gear, the one that we all expect to see. I do believe that it's going to be a tough game against Seattle, but I do think that they found a little something that they can work with. I know Leonard Fournette was not happy about being benched. Well, tough bleep. I play better. That's really what it's about. And I think it's kind of been a long time coming because Rachaad White has given this team an extra little spark from that position, something they didn't necessarily have, both through what Leonard Fournette can and cannot do, and the way he was playing and the things he could do, he just wasn't doing well enough. So I look at this offense and I'm thinking, okay, it's much better that they flew over to Germany coming off of that win, because it would have been tough riding a 4-game losing streak into that game, into a very tough game. But you have a somewhat healthy Mike Evans. I think there's been no indication that, he's healthy. I mean, I think you're getting Chris Godwin, but you got to understand that, the guy's coming off an ACL injury. And then you have Julio Jones, who, look, he may be good for one big play here and there. I mean, that's really what your expectations have to be. But yeah, you have some talent in Kate Otten. He's not Rob Gronkowski, but there's some talent there, and there's something that they can work with. So, for me, I look at this offense, and I'm like, okay, run it through Brady's pass the setup to run. Don't run to set the pass, and go from there, because this team still has an opportunity in this NFC to take a run at it, because I'm looking at, well, obviously the division is theirs to be had. The Eagles, obviously, I think we both agree, are the best team in the league right now. But when it comes down to the Eagles versus, say, the Buccaneers, and maybe that offense has been rolling for 6 weeks. I'm talking about the Buccaneers. Are you going to think twice? Or are you going to hands down take the Eagles? Or are you going to think, well, I don't know. The Eagles may be great. They may be 15-2, but that Buccaneers offense is rolling, and you got Tom Brady on the other side. So there's an opportunity there for this Buccaneers team, despite the bad start.
Yeah. I mean, 8-9, you still make the playoffs. You host a wild card game against the highest seeded wild card, which at the moment would be Dallas, and Dallas has had no playoff success really for the last 25 years. I think they've won 3 playoff games since winning their last Super Bowl 27 years ago. So, I could see Tampa pulling off an upset at home, and it would be an upset because Dallas would be favorite. They could be a 12-5 team visiting an 8-9 team in the wild card round.
If it does work out that they're 8-9, then forget what I just said, because I don't think they'd be good enough. You know what I mean? If they're 8, I need to see them be 11-6. Something like that. It's not necessarily the best record.
So you need to see them go 7-1 over the final 8 games. Then
I mean, if you believe that they're Super Bowl contenders, that should be done. Should be 7-1, 6-2 at worst. Right. I mean, that's the reality of it, John. I mean, if you're going to buy into this team being a Super Bowl contender, like if they go into this playoffs 8, I don't look. I'm going to guess that they're probably never really got it together. It'd be just moments here and there where, they're capable of winning a game, but they can't string it together. Now, they go 7-2 or 7-1 or 6-2 over the last 7 weeks, then you got to figure at some point they strung some really good football together. You know what I mean? Maybe they lost a game in between, but there was times where they played some really good football, and that's what you want to see from this team. And that's what I think they're capable of doing, John. I really think they're capable of it. And again, I think the biggest issue is a commitment to doing the right thing from the coaching staff, if that's who's driving it. So,
yeah, I mean, look, they have the ability to do it. No one's doubting that. Again, I'm not concerned with Brady. I'm not even concerned with weapons. I'm just concerned with that offensive line, because that's an issue. Look, no quarterback wants to get hit, let alone a 45-year-old quarterback, and especially when they're kind of leaky up the middle. I mean, Brady's always been able to deal with subpar tackle. He hasn't had to play with that many, but he can deal with that because he steps up in the pocket so beautifully. But when the rush is coming right in your face, that makes it more difficult.
Leverrett's been good at left guard.
He's improvement there.
Yeah, he's definitely been better. But Donovan Smith, is the left tackle. I mean, the disparity between the two tackles on that team is you have the king of inconsistency and taking bad penalties, and then Tristan Wirfs, who may be the best, arguably. I mean, he's probably the best right tackle in football. I mean, the guy is just from day one has been just an absolute beast on that side. But it doesn't matter how good he is on that side, because they're still able to get up the middle and on the left, and they get set back. And look, the other issue with the weapons, and I don't know how, it depends on how much you believe in EPA, but I do know that raw numbers speak for themselves as well. This team is once again at the top of the league in drop passes, and EPA, expected points, all that nonsense puts them at the top in terms of points lost from drops this season. And that's certainly a concerning issue. Last year, they were able to obviously overcome it for the most part. I I mean, who knows? A few things would have changed. Had maybe a couple catches would have been made, they would have been to the Super Bowl. And I think the difference here, John, and this is where the Bucks have struggled, is last year when they'd say drop a touchdown pass, they'd be able to make up for it. Either usually that drive, you know what I'm saying, to kind of render the whole drop, kind of moot at that point. They're not doing it this year, or they haven't been able to do it. So if a drop happens on a big second down play, generally they're failing on third down and drives over. So they're drive killers. And, losing points. Mike Evans' touchdown a few weeks ago sucked the energy out of that team right on the first drive, and that was it. So they need to overcome that. They do need to get better. Like I said before, I think Chris Godwin I don't think he's not playing as well because he's not 100% healthy. I mean, we're seeing a lack of that extra level burst that, really it's so minimal, but, it's the difference between some of these passes being completed and not, because, well, Brady expects one thing, Chris Godwin does another, or he's not quite at the spot that they're used to. So there are issues there, but I'm with you. The offensive line, if they can just play pretty well, that's it. Pretty well, John. That's it. That's all you need. Pretty well. You don't even have to be great. You don't have to be legendary. You just have to play pretty well. Give Tom Brady enough time to get through his reads, that this offense will be fine.
Yeah, I mean, he's a master of getting rid of the ball quickly, going through his progression quicker than anybody, and making the right decision. So, yeah, if they're just solid up front, I think everything will fall into play offensively. This is a big game this weekend. You're traveling to Germany. You're facing a Seattle team that's just on this incredible roll. I mean, both sides of the ball. Seattle's defense really stepped it up the last few weeks as well to go with that offense. Just kind of a setup because, you've got a Florida team like a couple of weeks ago. You had Jacksonville go to London, and you had Denver come from the Mountain Time Zone to London. They were able to win, and of course, because Russell Wilson was doing jumping jacks on the plane.
High knees, John. High knees. Get it right.
High knees, exactly. But now you get Seattle coming from the Pacific Time Zone to Germany. That's like a 12-hour flight. Like that's a big difference. We're talking about 9 time zone difference. So both of those teams are going to have to deal with that as well. And again, Seattle's I think the biggest surprise in the league this year. So here we are. It should be an interesting Sunday morning game.
Well, good thing is we can tell folks what's going to happen before it even happens, because that's a nice little segue to say, hey, we're going to give you our picks for the week, and no better place to start than that game. One, because, well, we've been talking about it, and two, well, it kicks off at 9:30 a.m. here on the East Coast, which I cannot wait for. I have plans to have slippers, sweatpants, blanket, curled up on the couch, watching hopefully the reemergence of that Tom Brady Buccaneers offense that we all know and love. Not surprising though. I mean, the guy still is second in the league in passing yards. It's pretty incredible for a guy who is 45 and continues to just rack up stats. But on a side note, though, John, now that Patrick Mahomes is in the touchdown and yards race in the league, you notice how it actually means something again, as opposed to last year. Didn't matter. It didn't matter. It doesn't matter. That's counting stats. Blah, 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 blah. But I'm a little bitter. Just a little bit.
Well, I'm still big on yards per attempt, but
yeah. Well, I look. I like me how I don't key in on specific one stat or the other, because it just kind of it gives you tunnel vision. I like to take them all into account, but to pretend like passing yards and touchdowns don't matter, like, oh, it's just because he threw 700 some odd times. Well, you understand that it's not easy to throw 700 whatever the record was. I don't know what he did exactly, but I knew it was 700
and win.
Yeah, and win. But
hey, right, yeah.
I know all that, John. That's the problem. It's not about me I'm worried about. It's the other folks out. But I tried. So anyways, let's start with that game. We have again Seattle and Tampa, and I believe, let me pull this up right. I believe Tampa's the home team technically in that, so they're losing the home game here. I'm taking the Buccaneers, and it's not going to be easy. Like I said, I'm going a little bit more with my fandom of Tom Brady, maybe, than the logistics. But I do think what we saw last week to end it was something of a come to light moment for this Buccaneers offense, and I think that's going to continue in Seattle or against Seattle in Germany, because I do think playing an international game kind of gives you that freedom. You're not at home, you're not away. There's kind of just this play with house money, it kind of feels like, and I think that'll be the perfect environment for this Buccaneers team to get on a winning streak. So give me Tampa Bay.
I'll take Tampa as well. I think in these situations, the more veteran team has some sort of an advantage, because it's kind of an awkward situation to be in. And Tampa's a veteran. So many of the prominent players on Seattle are literally rookies. So this is going to be something
well, just think of Tom Brady's experience not playing in the United States. No one's done it more.
Right? Yeah. He's maybe ambassador to Germany at some point. But I'll take Tampa in this game.
All right, next we have Detroit at the suddenly surging Chicago Bears, particularly their offense. I got Chicago winning this game. I like Justin Fields, how he's been playing. I'll be interested to see how more they incorporate Chase Claypool coming over from Pittsburgh. So Detroit, big win over Green Bay, but seems like a lot of teams are getting big wins over Green Bay lately. So I don't know how much faith I put into this Lions team to win back-to-back. So I'll take Chicago at home.
I'll go with Chicago as well. Dan Campbell, since he's been coach of the Detroit Lions, has never won a road game. And this game, last time I checked, is on the road. And Justin Fields just gets better every single week. They're averaging over 30 points per game the last 3 weeks. I'll go with the Bears.
All right. See, you took my dub. I usually say that, but that's good. I like that. Well done. I like it. Next, we have New Orleans at Pittsburgh. I took the Saints. I think their defense is still good enough to stop a pretty bad offense. You know what I mean? I guess I don't know. I mean, this is something where I just kind of flipping a coin at this with New Orleans, because Mike, like I said before, Michael Thomas is out. I think they have the more talent across the board, but we'll see. I got New Orleans on the road against the Steelers.
Pittsburgh's played. This is kind of a Yogi Berra type statement. They've played solidly against the average teams. When they play the elite teams, they really struggle. Obviously, Buffalo blew them out. And at home, they've been pretty competitive. So I'll take the Steelers in what is probably one of the least appealing games of the week.
Yeah, I'm just with the Patriots on the bye and the Bucks playing, at 9:30 in the morning. My entire day is going to be red zone. So I'm actually kind of looking forward to it. I'm not going to lie. It's kind of a nice treat. See, back in the day, with the Patriots were always prime time, or like those 4:00 games, because they're more competitive. You often got the 1:00 block of just red zone, and that's really the best. So, all right, Houston at the Giants. I think the Giants get back on track here. Obviously, having lost last time we saw them. I still think they're a pretty good team. I'm going to be curious to see what happens in the second half, because I think I don't know if it's not a concern, but I think the worry we've had about the Giants is this a little bit false goal to start? And not that it's a bad thing. Sometimes these teams, get a little bit ahead of schedule in terms of their development, and maybe the Giants are that. But I don't think so. They should win this game. If they're a real team, they should beat Houston, and I think they will. So give me the Giants at home.
This game stinks for some apparent reason to me. The Giants are a playoff contender. Houston might be the worst team in the league, and yet the line is 4.5 at Meadowlands. That doesn't make any sense to me. So I'm going to take Houston in an upset.
Oh,
my upset special of the week.
Okay, all right. Ring the bell. I wish I had a bell to ring, but Next we have Denver at Tennessee. I like Tennessee. I think they're a little bit better than I thought they were. It'll be interesting to see if Ryan Tannehill is back, because then I'd feel a lot more comfortable making that pick. Not that I think Ryan Tannehill is this otherworldly elite quarterback, but I do think he gives them a better chance to win than the Malik Willis for sure right now. And with the way Derrick Henry's been playing and the rest of this team, I think they'd have no problem taking care of Denver if he's on their center. But even if he isn't, I still think Tennessee could and will pull off the victory at home. So give me the Titans.
I'll take Denver. Denver's defense has played at a very high level this year. Maybe they'll be able to contain Derrick Henry and offense, which is not played at any level this year, maybe gets enough done. I'll take Denver in a kind of a slight upset.
Next, we have Cleveland at Miami. We have just a couple games left before Deshaun Watson makes his return or his debut with the Cleveland Browns. But for now, they have to go up against Tua, Tyreek, and Jalen. This dynamic trio down in Miami. And I think Miami handles Cleveland pretty well. Cleveland's capable of scoring some points, and we might see them have a couple flurries here against a mediocre Dolphins defense, but I think Miami is going to be in control of this. So give me the Dolphins.
Yeah, I'll take Miami in this matchup as well.
This next one is a very interesting and intriguing matchup because we have really no idea whether or not Josh Allen's going to play this weekend. And I think if he doesn't play, it's a very, I don't want to say easy choice because you may be tricked into thinking this is a primetime game because of, the two teams. But I went with Minnesota, because even if Josh Allen plays, certainly they haven't been playing at their best the last game and a half. And Minnesota, again, you can argue clearly might be the second best team in the NFC right now, is playing some really good football. So I got to go Minnesota on this one. Even like I said, I'm rolling the dice, and I'm expecting Josh Allen to play, but I'm going to make that pick anyway.
I'm going to go with Buffalo, whether he plays or not. I think after that slip up last week against the Jets, they'll be better focused. And I also think Buffalo's defense has still been good.
Oh yeah,
they've struggled against the run, but I think they're going to put pressure on Kirk Cousins, and Lord knows what the weather's going to be like as we're heading into the middle of November, and Buffalo can get kind of inclement earlier than any place else on earth, it feels like. So I'll take Buffalo. I'll think Buffalo will win this with or without Josh Allen. It's a lot easier if you have Josh Allen, but I like the Bills in this contest.
Next, we have Kansas City hosting Jacksonville. Kansas City. I mean, they have their issues, but I mean, it's Jacksonville, and if you're a good team, you should beat the Jaguars. So give me the Chiefs at home.
Yep. Yeah, not much more to say about that. I'll go with the Chiefs. That's an easy one.
Yeah, pretty easy, which naturally means Jacksonville's probably going to win this game. You understand that, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what we're going to get. It's going to be like 20-19 or something like that. So, Indianapolis and Jeff Saturday's coaching debut at Las Vegas. Like I said when we talked about the hire a few days ago, I'm intrigued by it. I'm not going to write it off because, well, the traditional way of hiring coaches hasn't worked out for a lot of teams lately. So what the hell? Why not? I don't think it's going to work out this game because I just don't think the Colts are any good. Certainly not on offense. Although I guess Matt Ryan is technically available to play, and maybe with the new coaching staff, the decision to keep him out may change. Not that it's going to make them markedly better, and they're still probably going to lose this game. But I'm going to go with the Raiders on this one. Although, again, I wouldn't be surprised if the Raiders blew this game too. So take that as you will.
Yeah, what an ugly matchup this is. The Raiders have struggled. The Colts are now struggling. It looks like they're in a total tank mode. I'll take the Raiders at home. They'll probably get a 17-point lead and blow it like they've done on 3 other occasions this year.
Yeah.
No one can hold the lead quite like the Las Vegas Raiders. But, yeah, at least that looks like a team that's still trying to compete, whereas Indianapolis looks like they've lost their soul. Maybe the coaching change helps with that, but I'll go with the Raiders in this contest.
Next is the battle of two teams that I just can't help but hate on all the time, and that is Arizona at Los Angeles. So naturally, this was a difficult game for me to pick because I didn't know how I was going to swallow picking either team. But I did ultimately go with the Cardinals because Matt Stafford being in concussion protocol is obviously alarming. And look, we saw Los Angeles firsthand. I think and as much as I don't think either team is particularly good, I think the Rams have a lot larger issues, things that they can't necessarily overcome. So I'll take the Cardinals in this one, but who knows? Maybe it'll be a tie.
Could be a tie, sure. That'd be good because then they'd be tied for last place because the loser of this game will be in last place in the NFC West. Yeah, I'll go with Arizona in this. The Rams just seem all out of sorts. Again, if your quarterback's in concussion protocol, that's an issue. And this looked like an appealing game before the season started. Now it's just one of those games that you almost look at and go, who cares? But I'll take Arizona in this matchup.
All right, next we have Dallas at Green Bay, and like you said, what could have been another one of those matchups that you'd circle on the calendar. Right now, it is. I hate to say it, but I don't see a way Green Bay wins this game. I really don't. I just think Dallas is playing well right now. I think they're just a better team, and I mean, I think we both believe that Green Bay season is, for all intents and purposes, over already. So this isn't a must win, have to have it, still have your hopes alive game for Green Bay. I think this is just more icing on the cake. So it'll be close, but I got Dallas on the road.
Yeah, I mean, Aaron Rodgers has owned Dallas, even more so at Jerry World than at Lambeau. Believe his only 2 losses against Dallas came at Lambeau, one in his first year as a starter and then one in 2016. I've got this weird feeling that somehow Green Bay is going to come up big in this game. Maybe they're going to see Mike McCarthy line. Maybe there's going to be pressure on Mike McCarthy. He's returned to Lambeau Field. The Cowboys always have a way of looking impressive for periods of time, and then when you're ready to anoint them as a real contender, they kind of fight themselves in the you know what. So I'm gonna go with Green Bay. I'll keep picking them until they win, and I'll probably be foolish for doing that. But I think Green Bay can pull off an upset at home this weekend.
Well, I'll say this: one of us will be right this weekend. Let's put it that way. One of us will be. Well, actually, no. I guess technically we could both be wrong if they tied. So, but yeah, that wouldn't happen. Next, we have the last but not least, we have the Chargers at the 49ers. I got the 49ers. I mean, I've lost a lot of faith in the Chargers. I'm losing a little bit of faith in our guy Justin Herbert. I think it's been very disappointing for this Los Angeles team, and I think San Francisco, they have the potential to go on a very nice run here, and I think it keeps going with this victory over the Chargers. So give me the 49ers.
Yeah, I'll take the 49ers. Look, they're one of the best squads in all of football, and they're coming off a bye week. They're getting healthier. Meanwhile, the Chargers are getting more and more injured. Are the Chargers not the weirdest 5-3 we've ever seen? Like, they're right playoff contention, but no one has faith in them. Justin Herbert has struggled. I think his offensive line has been a problem so far this year with the injuries they've had. He doesn't have his 2 top receivers, and he's kind of regressed a little bit, which can happen the quarterback's third year. But I'll take this go. Christian McCaffrey has been a great addition, and you know, as soon as he steps field, you can tell the difference.
Oh yeah, and like I said, I think that's going to pay a lot of dividends here at the end. Maybe by the end of the season, we're going to be talking about the 49ers as the best team in the NFC, not the Eagles. So that's going to do it. Be sure to tune in Sunday morning. I believe we're going to get the live show, technically live. We're going to little programming. We're going to pre-record it so I can sit there and watch the game. Yes. So we're going to act live. And I actually are not going to be live, but we will be airing the show at both 9:30 and 10:30 in our slot. So if you do want to tune in during the game, we will be doing that and having some fun still. But John and I will be back, of course, Monday morning to kind of break down everything that we saw this weekend. And hopefully, I will be pretty happy about a Tom Brady victory and maybe, a little stat padding. We need a good stat padding game from Brady. 5 touchdowns, 400 some odd yards. That would make me sleep well on a Sunday in which the Patriots do not play. So thank you, everyone, for tuning in, and we will talk to you on Monday.